how have you been thinking now that you're now in a whole different world of trading? Like your
Mhm.
profits, I think, what was it? I don't want to quote the misquote. Where are you at right now?
Like 1.2 million roughly. Today was actually, funny enough, my biggest day ever. First six-figure day.
Welcome back, everybody, to Be the Trader. Today, I have a very special guest. It's someone who's been on the show before, and it's exciting to bring him back because when he first was on the show, he was working on trying to figure out who he was as a trader. If he was going to find consistency, we were all trying to figure that out together. And now he's freaking just blowing it out of the water, and he's all over social media. And as you know, his name is Mathew Monaco, the old owner and host of Beyond the PDT. He is now far beyond the PDT. So welcome back, my man.
Yeah, man, thanks. It's pretty surreal. I actually saw someone like tweeted at me our old episode, which was like roughly a year ago, give or take a month. And yeah, man, just what a ride.
Isn't that wild, dude? Did you watch the old episodes?
I did, and just like nothing I said was wrong. Just like like how I've changed as a person and a trader over that 12-month period is like night and day. And granted, like I'm not like oblivious to the fact the market like that we're seeing today is just off the charts, like nothing anyone's ever really seen before. Like I've heard people compare it to the dot-com bubble. Like I wasn't there. I don't know, but it's insanity. And yeah, just the amount of opportunity out there. I mean, that's a big reason why over the last 12 months, like just my profits have gone exponential and just my ability to like trade. Like I love OTC stocks, and that's like where I got my like start, but I transitioned to like low float listed stocks pretty well, and just like building that playbook over the last 12 months. It's because I was talking to someone about this like literally last week. Just like every day is like the number of opportunities is like what you got in like a week. So you're able to just, even if you're not trading them, you're able to learn so much faster than you could have learned a year or two ago, just because there's so many examples in every sector, in every niche, and it's just crazy. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's a good point, man. That's a very good point. Because like back in the day, like if you're new to trading and you're listening to this for the first time, I need you to know that it took like, there was weeks before you saw something like GME, like it was like, or months or once a year. And now we're seeing that every day. Like we're seeing those kind of moves every single day. But you said something at the beginning here, and you said, I listened to the old episode and I heard some things I said, and I'm a night and day different of who I am today. Explain how you're different now.
Yeah. So I think I've always been a long bias trader, which has benefited me, honestly, because shorting is difficult right now. Like stocks don't go down. We're going to the moon every day. But like the way I was trading when we first did the episode, there wasn't a ton of opportunity. It was the beginning of 2020, I think, like before COVID. It was pre-COVID runners. And just the penny stock listed market, like that's what we were talking about. There weren't that many plays. So I was looking elsewhere. And at the time, like big caps were moving. The volatility was like pretty decent. And like, that's what I was trading. And big caps are cool, but I mean, they require some decent capital. You're not going to get, a 10% move even. Like you might you're focused more on dollars per share when you're trading the large caps. And then, I mean, honestly, you can think of it more in percent terms when you're trading penny stocks, because you will get that 50, 100% runner. So that's what I was focused on last time. And I transitioned during COVID as I saw the opportunity mostly into listed stocks. I don't know, under $10 listed stocks is basically what I like to trade. And I was just more or less buying breakouts. Like if you just want to boil it down as simple as it gets, like I'm basically a breakout buyer. Obviously there's some more nuances to that, but that is what I was doing because that's what I learned from watching DVDs like Train Tickers, and Bertani was like OTC breakout buying. I mean, it's essentially the same strategy. I just applied it to listed stocks with a few tweaks here and there. And that's what I did. And I kind of hit the ground running. June was insane. And then we like cooled off a little bit. And then the OTC market kind of started picking up into the end of 2020, like November, December, it really started heating up. We started to get these runners. And now, like 2021, this is the craziest market. Like OTC markets has seen since like 2014, 2015, 2016. I even saw Nate. I know you've had him on the show a couple times. He tweeted about it. He's like, this is like the hottest I've seen the OTC market since I first started. And I think he started like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. So like that market really has just heated up because we've had a couple strong movers and definitely everyone's looking for the next one. So you get these breakout moves that then run for like literally 3, 4, 5 days. Like TSNP, if you know the listeners want to pull some charts, is a perfect example. Just absolute madness from less than a penny. It closed today, had a red day, but it closed at $1.50 a share. And then ALPP, basically same thing. That one's up at like $8 a share. And now these are like runs over like many month period, but like they don't stop. It's insane. And it will come to an end. Don't get me wrong. But like every single day I'm sitting there waiting to either short them because when OTC snap, they snap hard, or perhaps like get a big panic and try to scoop up that dip. And like every day for like 2 weeks, it just hasn't happened. They just keep going higher. It's mind-boggling.
So you kind of made a shift and you started focusing on listed stock, buying breakouts, anything under $10. And now I'm very curious though, what about your mind? Like, how have you been thinking now that you're now in a whole different world of trading? Like your profits, I think, what was it? I don't want to quote the misquote. Where are you at right now?
Like 1.2 million roughly. Today was actually, funny enough, my biggest day ever. First 6-figure day.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Good job, man. It's just cool to see that happen. And it's amazing. Like it's exponential.
It is.
It really was. And so was it hard for you to size up? Was there any challenge for you at all? Because from a perspective, like for me watching, it just seemed like it was no big deal. So can you explain, was there a challenge in that or was it just pretty easy?
There definitely was some challenges, but I did a couple of things that definitely made it easier sizing up. Like back when we were first talking, I think like $100, maybe $150 was like my max risk level. So I'd always try to calculate my share size. So that way, when I had to cut at the risk level, it was like $150 loss. Since then, just the COVID runners is when I like first started sizing up. And I think by like June, my max risk was roughly like $500 or $600. And then I started trying to push it in July. In July, I didn't have a bad month, but just like my losses were definitely bigger than they should have been. I was still end of the month green, but again, I had like probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 losers that were just like $5,000 plus, which was just too big because of slippage or I got stubborn. So then from there, I started sizing up. Now I'll risk, $1,000, $2,000 on a trade. And I think the reason I was able to do it, at least from the outside looking pretty simple, is I pay myself from my account like religiously until the end of June. My account was at like $40,000 to $45,000 period. If I made money, I'd withdraw it. And I always kept myself really close to the PDT because I suffered under the PDT. It's a tough rule. I just didn't have enough money to get over it. So I was under that rule for like 2.5 years until I just saved enough money to get over PDT. And it sucked. And like, I'll never forget those years. So like I kept my account close enough to that level where I knew like a big loss would put me under that. And even though I withdrew the funds and put them in like my savings account, I just didn't want my account to go below it because of just the pain of like those 2 years. So like every single day, if I had a profit, I would withdraw that money
every day.
Every day. Yeah. Like literally my bank account statements and like in like June, especially because June was crazy. Like 5 days a week, there was a deposit from E-Trade and I just withdrew the profits every single day because I went in with just a fresh mindset. Like my account didn't look any bigger. I didn't have any more funds. It was just a new day and I was just trying to do the same thing. And then slowly over time, I just increased my account size. Where like towards like September, I was probably around like $50,000 or $60,000 I kept in the account. Now I keep roughly, $200,000, but that's mostly because of how E-Trade handles OTC stocks. If you swing an OTC stock at E-Trade, you don't have that buying power the next day. They just withhold it. So because of that, I just keep my account a little bigger because I'm like trading OTC stocks, swinging them a lot of times. And I just don't want to have like buying power issues if there's good play.
That makes sense. And so you still withdraw every day though?
Every day?
Over 200 basically?
What was that?
Every time it reaches over 200 now, you just withdraw?
Just withdraw. Like I withdrew today. Basically, my profits for the day, I'll just withdraw it. And obviously, if I have a losing day in there, what happens to everyone, I just do nothing. And then when I say I make it back and then some, I just withdraw less the next day. But I pay myself just super religiously. And it just helps me have that clear mindset. And then over time, since like I felt myself like being paid, I was like, it's okay to risk a little more because like not all my funds now are in my trading account. There's actually more funds in my savings account. And it just helped me like detach.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I've never heard of every day. And so that's really interesting that you do that, man. And I think it could be very beneficial for a lot of people out there who might be struggling with that because they're like, ooh, I'm up now 50K. Let me just risk more all of a sudden instead of like a base price or a base account size. You know, I want to know, what is something that if looking back now, and we're going to do a lot of looking back because it's not every day that someone grows this quickly, right? So I want to know, looking back now, what is something that held you back to where you are now?
I think
from the first time we talked on the show, like I want to know, was there anything that was kind of holding you back that you got rid of to help you grow? Like,
not necessarily holding me back, but I think a reason I was able to just like push the limits was like I make an effort to talk to different traders, different people to learn what they're doing, especially traders that are just killing it. And like early on in 2020, Jack Kellogg really found his stride. And that man is like, he's on a different planet right now. He's just doing absolutely incredible. Props to him. But I talk to him every day, like, and he's a great guy. He would answer my questions and just like saw what he was doing. And I did that with like Kyle Williams, Dom, Maestro Matteo, who he likes to stay out of the spotlight a little bit, like Huddy, Roland, you name it, all those like traders on Twitter. And I just like would talk to them and just like see what they were doing, see what they were watching. And because I was just talking to so many people and seeing so many different styles, I didn't let like what they were doing influence me, but I was just constantly trying to learn so that way I could like push the envelope. And then when there was a slow market, like make an easy transition. And I think that's what I've done best because there's this the first week of January, there was like an immediate shift. Like OTCs were crazy hot in December. And then we went like January 1st or the 4th, the first day the market was open, like 0 OTCs. And I just like instantly, without even thinking about it, flipped over to listed stocks, which is something I never would have been able to do the first time we talked, like, especially without even thinking about it. But because I've talked to like good listed traders, good OTC traders, and I've like dabbled in those markets over that year, I can just make those transitions. And that's something I'm still trying to do. Like, short selling does not work right now. I mean, people make money, but it's difficult. And so even though it's not working, like I want to understand it and I want to be able to short sell because there will be a day, who knows, it could be in 5 years, but there will be a day where short selling is way easier than longing again. And like when that day comes, I want to be prepared so I can like seamlessly transition from going long to like being short biased.
Man, that's awesome because it's awesome to hear you say that because I can relate in terms of constantly talking to different traders. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit more closed-minded than you were. And then I became more open. And when I became more open to really understand how each trader really takes positions and how they do it, it kind of made me more flexible where I trade pretty much everything long and short now. And it's made me a better adapter. And I think that's exactly what you just said is like, you're better at adapting. You've been practicing so long. And it's interesting because you've been trading for, I think, 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah, going on my 4th year in a couple months. Yeah.
So like 4 years and about 2.5 or 3 years of that was just not consistent, like not making good money. And that's okay. But what the point is, you were practicing all these different ways. And I guarantee it, everything that you've been practicing is now getting better to this point where you can now make those transitions and try different things. So it's good that you said that, because people are probably listening to this who've tried different things and nothing's really working yet, but they find a little bit of success here and there, and it gives them hope. Like, hey, stick with one thing for a little while. If you're not feeling it, try something else. And it's okay to go back to it if it's hot again. Yep. And over time, like, that's called adapting. Over time, that's how you'll be able to trade every day pretty much. Absolutely. And I guarantee you'll be trading pretty much every day. And for the short sellers out there, shorting is very difficult. Yes. But I mean, all my profits today were shorted. So, I mean, like, it's just like, it's like, it's not a shorter's market though. It's definitely not. It's a long market, because they're not working like they used to. But it's very cool, man. That it's just really, really cool to see where you are now and how you're thinking. So I want to know, do you view risk different now than what you did in the past? Do you view it any different?
I don't think so. I do calculate a certain amount of slippage in my risk now, where say I'm risking off $1, I'll take risk knowing there's probably a decent chance I won't fill to maybe 95 cents, because when it's floating around $1, I don't want to cut it necessarily in case maybe it dips to 99 cents and then recovers. So I add that little buffer. So it's kind of getting away from the mindset of cutting losses quickly, which isn't a wrong mindset, especially if you're new, because you got to keep those losses small. You can't, there was a solid 6-8 months, around year 2, where I would make money for a week or 2 and then just have a big loss that would just wipe it all out. And that's something you definitely need to avoid. And I think just comes from, you do it enough times and it sucks enough that you just are I need to just stop doing this. It's just one of those things. So that's kind of, Gertani calls it cutting losses intelligently. I've heard him say, and I would say that's kind of what it is. Where I just will give stocks a little extra time just within my plan in case we have some fake outs, especially on listed stocks, because listed stocks can be very choppy, especially around those key levels. Whether it's algos or just big traders, they're fishing for stop losses. And I mean, it takes no brains to see maybe $1 is that super key support level. So if they just dip it to 99 cents real quick and get all those stop losses off, and then they'll swipe it right back up. So
absolutely. And for everyone who just heard this, you need to rewind and listen to what he just said, because this is so important. This helped me a lot too, man, where I kind of view risk or stops or key areas as more of a zone or a trampoline. I give it a little bit of, it depends on how it cracks. It depends on if it holds after it cracks. There's all kinds of things that come into it. But it's not black and white. It's just kind of gray, right? Yeah. And so I'm glad you did that, because that's something that took me a while to do, man. It took me a while to figure out that I need a buffer. I need a size maybe down a little less to give myself that comfort to be able to hold when it barely breaks something. Mm-hmm. And when you started doing that, did you see quick results? What did you see when you started doing that?
I wouldn't say instant results, but there's this just comfort factor that I was more comfortable in trades, because size is overrated if you can get a big percent move. Everyone trades different, whether you're a scalper or swing trader, it doesn't matter. But if you just when I take a smaller size position with that little buffer of risk, I'm more comfortable to sit through those pullbacks or sit through that testing support level. Where if I'm even if it's within my plan and I'm saying max risk, if it pulls to that level, I'll get nervous. I mean, that's normal for traders. So just being more comfortable in trades and letting them work, and holding on to them longer, just because you're not sweating because you're in big size and maybe a trade's working for you. And then all of a sudden you peek at your P&L and you're like, oh man, I better lock that in. But you just don't actually let the trade plan play out. I mean, those are just signs you're playing too big. And I mean, I went through that. It's a cycle. You got to figure out just where you're comfortable. And over time, as you get more experience, those numbers will change, and they're different for everyone. And it's tough too, because on Twitter, especially, it can be pretty toxic, where you just compare yourself to other people. And I've done it. I'm sure most people have done it, where you just see someone rising up or you see someone having a killer day, Or even like if there's a newbie out there, maybe he gets super lucky and makes like a ton of money on a trade. Like that happens all the time. You just can't compare yourself and your journey to someone else's. That would be my best advice. And as soon as I did that and like stopped just like being like, oh, I should be here. And rather like if I saw someone crush it, someone like I really respect, some big trader, and I'd be like, man, like that's possible. And now it's more of like an inspiration to me, like to keep pushing, because in trading, there's just always another level. Even on Twitter, like there's always another level. There's traders out there that aren't on Twitter. There's always another level. You know, there's those hedge fund traders. I mean, there's quite literally like almost no limit in the market if you think about it. And just stop comparing yourself, because it doesn't even matter if you're happy with what you're doing and how you're trading and your lifestyle. Like, just it's toxic.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a couple of things you pointed out is even now, when you size into your full risk, you still get nervous.
Yeah.
Right. If it comes against you or gets closer, and you said that kind of doesn't really go away. And I think that's good for you to say, because, you know, traders, and I know I was guilty of this, and maybe you were too, where we used to think like, man, when we were like coming up, like just barely trading, we were like, man, I bet Roland never gets scared. You know, like I bet he's always doing really well, you know, or whoever, Tim Grattani. And you realize that, dude, it's always going to be that way. Like every time you size up, like it's going to be that way. And I think you just get better over time with sticking to your plan. But you also said something about sizing less can sometimes be better for you. And my question is, when you size down, let's say smaller size, because you want to hold for a move and you're comfortable, are you also still taking profits in the same kind of way as if you had a full size position, or are you typically find yourself more inclined to hold longer and not take profits as soon?
No, this is a great question, because it's actually something I'm working on / struggling with at the moment. So I have E-Trade lets you have 2 accounts, and one's just like a cash account I use. And the goal of that account for me is to just like swing trade. In OTC stocks, if you can swing trade them well, like Cody, you just had him on actually, crazy.
That guy's a beast.
And he's having a killer year. If you can swing trade him properly and be patient with him, like the percent returns, like it's not an understatement to say you're going to have 1,000% plus trade. Like in at least 2021, sorry, they're happening like literally once a week. There was one trade I had today, MINE. It wasn't really today because it was a swing trade. And I think I got in at like 0.0017. Today it closed at 0.015. So already in a week, like 3-day period, it has gone up 10x. And now my position size in it is like super small, and I've already basically sold all the way out. I have like almost no shares left, because I'm trying to be patient, and like I'm holding like a couple $100 worth, because I just want to like start initiating those good habits, and then over time like holding longer my like normal swing trades, where like my thought process is like when it gets to a certain point where I normally would sell like 100% of my position on a swing trade type thing, I would sell 90% now and just hold that 10% just for a little longer. And then over time, instead of selling 90, maybe I'll sell 80 or 70 or 50, and then just slowly hold a bigger portion of it for that larger move. Because like that's what Jack Kellogg's doing right now. And that man and Cody and M. Riley Mason, and they're just blowing it out of the park, because the moves on OTCs, if you can be comfortable, are crazy, and you don't need crazy size. I think Jack put in like 2,500 or whatever, and now it's worth like 25 grand, like in like 3 days, like, cause it's like 10x. But he just takes those smaller positions where he's, you know, comfortable, doesn't have to think about it. And then he'll just sell into each spike a little bit. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm struggling because my whole mindset has been like if I'm up 100% on a trade, like just as a day trader, I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. Like regardless of my size, I've doubled my money. But like when you're swing trading these OTC stocks, like detaching from that is where I'm struggling right now. So hopefully I can get that down, because if these runs keep happening, it's pure insanity over there.
That's awesome, man. It's cool to hear that you're working on that and that your thought process behind like holding a small piece, and then over time that piece gets a little bigger and a little bigger, and it just shows you that you're more process oriented. You're more like, I'm not going to get there overnight, but I can work towards that. And I think that's it's going to continue to make you successful and help you grow and evolve as a trader, which is so awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I can easily hear that. And yes, Cody, if you don't know who Cody is, I did an interview with him, and that one should be going live before this episode goes live. So make sure you go listen to that, because he's a madman when it comes to OTCs. Just ridiculous. He'll text me or message me, and I'm like, dude, get out of here.
Well, because it seems crazy, and like OTC market does have a barrier to entry for a lot of people still, because you still have to pay commissions at most brokers. And if you're new, like, and you entered into this like commission-free world, like that's a turnoff. But if you think about it, like $5 is like what it is at E-Trade still. $5 like to pay to play for like just the percent return opportunity out there is like well worth it, regardless of like your account size, because the runs that these things go on are so crazy. And then on top of that, it's weird too, because like people say like, oh, I trade penny stocks, but like these are like real penny stocks. Like I owned a stock the other day that was like, sub pennies. It was like 0.003. And I was like, I had like millions of shares. It's like, this is like hurting my brain.
Trying to calculate what your risk is. Like,
you got the calculator.
10 million shares. No, that can't be right.
Exactly. And then you're like, 10 million shares is only like a $300 position. Is this right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So it's scary. I mean, and it's uncomfortable too if you're totally new, but like definitely like if you're new to the market or the OTC market, just like start like looking at them and looking at the percent moves. And they trade a little different too, especially if you're from listed, but like just start like peeking at them. And when you see like the breakouts and the multi-day runs these things go on, I think almost anyone would like change their mind and be like, maybe I should start trying to figure this out.
I've been told multiple times. I've only traded OTCs every once in a while, and I think I caught CBDD the other like a week ago or something like that.
That was one a week or two ago.
Yeah. Like I don't trade OTCs really, not because I don't like them, not because I just don't even think about it. And I think that's a weakness. Now, last question before we wrap this up. Two questions, actually. One is, because people are probably going to ask me all over, and I need to know this, and I want to know this too. Is there a free way to scan for OTCs? And if there is, how would you do it?
To my knowledge, there's not. And I think it's just because it's like a separate market. So like the free scanners out there, like FinViz and whatever, they don't want to pay the extra fee for the OTC market. And I know there's also like legal disclosures or something that like you have to sign, even if you sign up for like a scanner, like, Stocks to Trade or Scans or whatever it is, you have to sign when you want OTC data. So because of that, I don't believe there actually is a free OTC scanner. I could be wrong. And if you find an answer, please let me know, because that would be just helpful for everyone.
Sure. And do you use Scans and Stock to Trade or both, or?
I have Stocks to Trade. And just like my basic scanner for my OTCs that I like to trade, because I'm not quite at like Cody level where I can buy these and swing them for thousands of percent return. I like to catch them once they're already running, or perhaps like as a breakout, like a couple of weeks later. That's just like how I trade them. I more or less just look at for like top percent gainers, but then I add some liquidity filters just to filter out the ones that just have no volume. And to do that, I usually look for like more than 1,000 trades on the day. And then I want to see it trading more than $1 million worth of just dollar volume. And that'll weed out a ton of them that are just like crappy runners. But even with those,
you're still getting those at the .000s?
I do have, depending on the day, I do look for over a penny or under a penny, just to like filter them out, because I'm much more comfortable trading stocks over a penny, just because I don't have to have millions and millions of shares. But like sub penny runners have just been super hot. So sometimes I'll scan for less than a penny. But even with all those filters on there, like today, I think there was like 77 stocks on my OTC scan. Like it was just, and like 40 of them were up like 50% or more. It was just stupid. Like the amount of runners in this market right now.
That's wild.
Mind boggling.
That's so wild. I'm going to have to, okay. I love it. It's like there's so much to trade right now. There's
so much.
It's not just OTCs, like listed stocks every day. There's moves.
Oh, I know.
It's just crazy. A big caps, there's moves. Like there's moves everywhere. My swing trading, there's everywhere. So
there's moves.
There's too much to do, and it's crazy. It's never been like this, which is so cool. So let me ask you this, man, before we wrap this up. Now I can ask you this, because I've never been able to ask you this question. So if you can go back 3 years, sit down from Matt 3 years ago and be like, yo, and give him a piece of advice so he can be here much faster, what would you tell him?
I would say definitely just like network. And I did this roughly 2 years ago when I made the Beyond the PDT, and I kind of wiggled my way into some traders. And it doesn't have to be like top traders. Like obviously that's super helpful if you can like know a top trader or just pick a top trader's brain. But even just like a trader who's like working hard that maybe you stumble into in some chat room you're in or on Twitter, just surround yourself with like people who want it. And if you can, surround yourself with people who are already there so you can learn from them. Because I do strongly believe it'll speed up your learning curve. And I think it's a big reason, like what looks like overnight success, like actually like happened, and I went so parabolic this year. It's because I just surrounded myself with really good traders that were already killing it. And then I used what I learned from them to kind of like shape my own strategy. And, you know, I could look back and say, maybe I could have gotten there by myself, but it definitely would have taken a lot longer. And I definitely don't think I'd be in this position right now, as like prepared as I am and comfortable as I am trading, if I didn't talk to just other traders out there. And they don't have to be trading the same stuff you do. Just traders are weird people, and they have this weird mindset. And it's just like, you try to talk to a normal person about it, and it's just like, even if it's your loved one, they'll try to care, but they just don't truly understand. So my advice would just be to just try to network, supply some value to people and help some people out, and then they'll reciprocate the favor. And then maybe next thing you know, you've got like a trading buddy, and you two just start figuring some stuff out. Like that's what I wish I did just a little earlier, like 3 years ago, because who knows, like what would have happened? I mean, the markets were slow and the opportunities weren't as good as they were today. Sure. But like if I had just an additional year of knowledge from successful traders than I have today, like who knows?
Agreed. And where can people find you, Matt, if they have any questions or want to just ask you anything?
Yeah. My handle is mono_trader, MONO_trader. Be super careful. There are a ton of like scammers out there, and it's super annoying. So like, just be careful. And if you get a message from me, like it's not me, like I probably won't be initiating the conversation. So just immediate red flag if you see that. I'm on Twitter. Profitably, I try to answer all my messages over there too. And as far as I know, I'm the only mono trader on that website. So that's a good spot too. Those would be the two best places to hit me up.
Okay, perfect. Well, hey man, it was a pleasure having you back on the show, my man. It was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We got to make this a routine, so that we can constantly, hopefully everything keeps going well and the market stays crazy. And then we can just do some like check-in episodes.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be really cool.